UFC 300 is here. It is literally a matter of days away. That is just so mental for me to say. Like I've said it a number of times on here. I watched years ago with my dad and his friend who's now passed away, rest in peace. Watched DC Stipe, was going to watch Conor Khabib, but didn't, sadly. Watched McGregor Mayweather, watched you name it. I was a fan back then, but I got out of it a little bit until me and my mate Jesse, who I've obviously had on this podcast, started watching at UFC 246, McGregor versus Cowboy, and now here we are. All these years, four and a bit years later, and now we're up to UFC 300, and we're still watching. We're going to be watching it this Sunday. Far out, dude. That is so crazy to me. So let's get into it, I guess. Let's get into reviewing UFC 300. Let's go to, as we always do, the UFC website, which is now no longer TBD versus TBD, which is good. As always, we're only reviewing the main card, because if I do watch the prelims, I don't ever talk about it. But main card. Ooh. Tell you what, though, there is a couple of fights worth mentioning on the prelims. And even the early prelim. Oh, and even the early prelims. Okay, so that's how stacked this card is. So Deiveson Figueiredo is opening up UFC 300 against Cody Garbrandt, which is crazy. A lot of fighters clearly wanted to be on this. Bobby Green, who beat Tony Ferguson, is fighting Jim Miller, who I think is retiring on this card, I think I heard. Jessica Andrade is on the card. Let's see, Kayla Harrison makes her MMA debut against Holly Holm, who's ranked number 5 in the bantamweight women's division. Aljo's on it, ranked 2 in the featherweight division. He's fighting Calvin Kattar for the first time, I believe, since losing his belt at UFC 292 last year. And then Jiri Prochazka, the former light heavyweight champion, closes out the prelims in a light heavyweight bout, ranked number 2, that is, Jiri Prochazka, against Alexander Rakic. But now we get to the main card, ladies and gentlemen. Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage in a middleweight bout. They're saying that Bo Nickel's going to win. Charles, the real champ, Oliveira versus Arman Chakajia, I don't even know how to pronounce that, in a lightweight bout. They're saying the other guy's going to win. Oh, by the way, sorry. Charles rank 1. The other guy's rank 4. Now we get to the business end of things, ladies and gentlemen. In a lightweight bout, making his lightweight debut, Max Blessed Holloway fights Justin the Highlight Gaethje for the title of baddest motherfucker on the planet. Keen as mustard for that. Oh, so now Max and Volk have both gone up to lightweight. I'll bet there's a part of Max that regrets that now, by the way, given Volk has lost. I do wonder what will happen after this fight, because they're saying that Justin's going to win, obviously. But I am keen as mustard for that fight. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening. One of our favourites in Zhang Weili defends her women's strawweight title against Yan. I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, but a fellow Chinese woman. Oh, God. We're renowned for that on this podcast. We can't pronounce names. I've probably offended a lot of people who've listened, but As always, we know Zhang Weili is one of our favourite fighters. Single-handedly saved UFC 248 from the disaster that was Izzy versus Romero, as I've often said. Deserved fight of the year, absolutely. And then she came back in front of her own people, I believe it was, and won the belt back again, I think. It was either that or another. I forget which card she won the belt back on. Let's actually see. Let's look that up. Slight delay. Let's check her record to see when she won the title back. Hold on. Okay, that's the next fight. Okay, it wasn't the one again. It wasn't the. Sorry, that wasn't even her own people. That was a Singapore card. Okay, so it was the card after the one I was talking about. She won the belt back against Carla Esparza. That's right. After that snooze. Oh, it was. Oh, so she won the. Wow, so she's been on two historic cards. Well, not historic cards because UFC 248 was only historic for the Zhang Weili fight, but she's been on two big cards in Izzy's life. So she obviously was on UFC 248. And then she won the belt back against Carla Esparza after that snooze fest she had with Thug Rose at UFC 281 Adesanya versus Pereira, which, of course, is when Izzy lost his belt for the first time at Madison Square Garden, I believe it was. And then her last fight was on that card that I just talked about before that Aljo lost his belt on, UFC 292. And now she's fighting again this weekend, obviously, UFC 300. So very keen for that. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the main event of the evening. Alex Poatan Pereira defending his light heavyweight title against number one ranked and former light heavyweight champion Jamal Hill. They're saying Alex is going to win. Look, I don't know. Jamal's not one to be messed around with. A lot of people are saying don't sleep on him. But the power of Poatan is one like no other. So very much so looking forward to that. But that's UFC 300, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people have hated on it because, like I've said before, it didn't really follow the tradition, I guess, of being star-studded. And yeah, it didn't to a degree. You know, they could have tried to get Conor, at least. That's what I'd hoped. But nonetheless, who we'll talk about later, Conor. But nonetheless, it is still stacked in its own way, as we've just seen. And I am indeed very keen for it. Going to be watching at a pub in an old favourite of mine, Sunbury. And probably getting the poster, because obviously a historic event like this, I need to get the poster for it. Definitely the most historic UFC card I've watched, certainly since UFC 246 anyway. Man, I still can't believe it's been so long. 4 years. Far out. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen,